Hello, everyone. Welcome to the River's Edge. I am your host, Kelli Rivers. Sammy Rivers is in the house. He's sleeping next to me. And we have the beautiful and lovely Michelle Fielding today. Thank you, Michelle, for joining.
Hello, everyone.
Awesome, awesome. Let me shut this down over here. Okay. So Michelle sadly had her Patreon channel completely deleted, wiped out last week, and she lost all her connections, that was her main source of income too, right, Michelle?
Yeah. So 48 hours ago, I just received an email out of the blue saying that they closed down Patreon, and, all my clients do their courses there and they subscribe to me each month, and there's no telephone number to call. You have to send back an email asking why. So I've done that, and I'm just waiting to find out what's going on. But apparently they didn't close the account because of anything I'd posted in Patreon. Apparently they've been looking at other channels, like maybe YouTube or maybe my Facebook page. I'm not sure. They didn't say. And they've closed it down because of something outside of Patreon. So they're not closing me down for something I've said within that platform. They've been looking at other work that I've been doing elsewhere.
That's so stupid. Like when they deleted most recently, I got a strike on my new YouTube channel, and they gave me a strike for a video from my old YouTube channel back in February. And it is not even on my new YouTube. And I appealed it. They're like, nope, you're in the wrong. I'm like, I didn't even have this stupid channel in February.
The thing is that I was expecting to have, at least a warning or a strike or something, but it was just such a shock because I was like 48 hours from being paid, and now the whole lot's gone. And the other thing I'm very concerned about is that obviously I have customers that are trying to go in to talk to me, and they wonder where I've gone, and I can't access their emails, even though they're my clients and they're my intellectual property. Now that Patreon have closed everything down, I'm not able to message them to tell them what's happened, which I think is bizarre, because you should be able to at least tell your customers who are doing courses with you what's happened so that they can at least, speak to you or find out what they need to do.
Can you post it on your website, like a big letters when someone goes to your website?
So what I've done for everyone that's listening today is I've put all the details on my YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube, you'll find that I posted something with all the addresses where you need to go to contact me if you're one of my clients or if you're doing a course with me and you now can't access your materials. I'm hearing different things from some clients that already know me. They're saying that some are saying they can access materials and some are saying they can't. So I'm not quite sure at the moment what's going on, because as I said, this only happened like 48 hours ago. So I'm still kind of catching up with what's happened, really.
Okay. Well, I hope they can get the payment thing resolved, and maybe people can pay you a different way. Obviously they can't pay you through Patreon right now.
So what I've done at the moment is I've set up Buy Me a Coffee, which is an app where you can send donations. And I've also set up an app called WISIO, spelled WISIO. And I've moved all my courses over to WISIO. So you can still buy the e-courses if you go to either of those apps. And they're all on as I said, I've put all the addresses on my YouTube channel. And that's assuming they haven't deleted that. When I looked earlier, it was still there, but you never know. You never know, Kelli.
Oh my God. It's insane. I'm sorry you had to go through that. They're just cracking down big time, and none of it makes sense.
It was just, it's happening to everyone. It's happening to everyone. And it is a bit of a shock when it first happens. The first moment it happens, you kind of go into shock, but then you just kind of calm yourself down and realize, well, okay, I'll just move across to a different platform or whatever you need to do. And people they find you, they still come back.
Okay, good. Well, I hope people listening, can you spread the word? If you know anyone who is looking for Michelle or wondering what happened, please share it on your social medias.
Here I am.
That's right.
Look, can you see my t-shirt? It has a
cow
on it. Can you see that?
It's a cow.
Yes, it's a cow. Can you see? It's quite cute, isn't it?
He's pretty cute. Okay, so Michelle, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say it doesn't all fit in the screen, so I had to kind of lift it up so you can all see what's on my shirt. There we go.
And your hair is looking lovely as well. She got extensions and she's loving it, right?
Yeah. Well, when I first had them done, it was quite strange, but now I don't think I've had my hair long since I was about 9 years old. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, but something else that's happened recently. A lot of changes going on for me, Kelly.
I haven't got extensions either. I can't imagine, like, you can't scratch your head when you're showering. They like it's I couldn't do that.
Yeah, they do take a little bit of getting used to, because it is something different going on. But well, you just kind of get used to it.
It's the price of beauty. Okay, so you guys, we have a list of questions that are predetermined or set right here. I'm going to be reading the questions, and then Michelle is going to give her channeled response to these questions. And then afterwards, I'll look in the comments and see if you guys have any questions. Is that good with you, Michelle?
Yeah, I'll try and answer the things that I obviously know. And if I don't know or I can't get anything coming today, then I will obviously let you know that as well.
All right. And we already have one quick question about your t-shirt. You had a love t-shirt that you wore on your last video. And Denise wants to know where you got it.
I think I bought that from an online store called Shine, but it's spelled SHEIN. I think that's where I bought that one.
Okay. Shine.
I don't know if that's available across the entire world, but I'm in the UK, and that's like an online store.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the first question, shall we?
Okay.
All right. Numero uno, is Donald J. Trump stepping back for someone else to take the reins?
So we channeled this down earlier, and it's kind of like a conversation, Kelly. So if you want to read it like a conversation, starting with your bit, and then I will go on and respond. So the first bit that you asked me is Donald Trump stepping back for someone else to take the reins. What they told me was yes and no. He is not stepping back, but rather he is stepping up to a new role.
What would the new role be?
Well, they're saying, yes, it will be a new role, but it will be a new role in a new setup, and they called it a new republic.
Okay. And when will that officially be known?
So they said to me that first, the Arizona recount and investigation needs to be finalized one way or the other.
And what does that mean, one way or the other?
So it means that Arizona has to fully play itself out one way or the other. And then that will be either through showing clearly that there was election fraud, or moving to the next level of scrutiny, is what they've told me.
What's that next level?
So they're saying the next level will be a military intervention.
And what would that military intervention look like?
So what they were saying was the military will step in and they will announce procedural anomalies, and then they will make an informed decision based on the evidence in front of them at that time and in line with the law of the Constitution.
And which method is likely at this point, judicial or military?
So they are pointing towards military.
Okay, and when will that be finalized?
So and this is a continual story I keep getting. It looks like it's going to be towards the latter part of this year and maybe even into early 2022.
Wow, that is a ways away. So once the process is finalized, will Trump be the leader of the USA?
So they said yes and no. So I asked them to explain what they mean. And they said that he will be shown to have had the winning number of votes, but constitutionally, things will look different legally. Things will look different, and a new roll or second vote will be necessary.
Why will the second vote be necessary?
They said that a second vote will be necessary as too much time will have passed to be able to legally reinstate from the first round of voting in 2019.
Do you mean 2020, the March 11, 2020?
No, what they mean is the first round of voting in 2019.
And what was that? What occurred in 2019?
Yeah, they're saying that they're saying that the voting that occurred in 2019 was voting which secured a new republic and framework under Nasara Jassara.
And what was that framework called? Was it an executive order?
They said yes, it was an executive order which was passed in 2019, and it was regarding a financial act.
And when will the Democrats be made to or willingly step down?
They told me they won't.
We need an explanation.
Yeah. So they said that this dual government will play out until 2022.
So two more, or no, we're in 21. So one more year. What will happen in 2022?
So they're saying that people will be given a second option to vote, a second opportunity.
Does Biden hold any legitimate control until that point?
So again, they said yes and no. They said that he is a placeholder to keep the country in a state of calm until the election process can be officially put into motion for a second time in 2022.
I wouldn't say he's keeping anything calm. So what do you mean by second time?
So they said, yes, there's going to be a rerun of the election from the November 2020. So, we had the election in 2020. They're saying there's going to be another, you're going to be allowed to do that again, but it won't happen until 2022.
And who will win in 2022?
And that they wouldn't tell me. They just said it was a new setup.
So by 2022, will the grassroots Americans have formed a new movement who could challenge the current setup?
Not exactly.
So can you explain that, please?
So they were saying that by 2022, there will be a great dissatisfaction with the way that the USA is being governed, and a transition will be possible back to the Trump team.
Who will head up the new political momentum from 2022?
So they said Donald Trump.
I don't understand. Will the people vote him in?
No, but he will still head up the momentum.
How so?
Well, they said that was currently denied. So how it's actually going to look and how it's going to happen, they didn't want to give me the details.
But he will be back. So that's the good news. It's not as soon as we'd like, but
yeah.
Is there anything
he might not, sorry, I just wanted to clarify there that what they're trying to say is he will be behind the political momentum. Doesn't necessarily mean that he will be at the front.
Right. So he'll be involved, just
he'll be involved.
as before. Okay, is there anything you can divulge at this time to help understand?
So they're saying that the new leader will be a Trump, not necessarily Donald Trump.
Oh.
And that the new party or setup will look different to anything that the USA has experienced before, and that the whole world will follow suit and duplicate the political framework and template of the USA.
So that would be in 2022. So a year from now, this will all be happening.
Yeah.
And are the white hats still in control of the USA? Or
So
in the US?
yeah, they told me that the White Hats and the Alliance are fully in control in the USA and in all the major governments around the world.
Awesome. Will there be any false flags like ET or UFO invasions or natural or man-made disasters between now and the 2022 momentum you described politically?
They said politically, no, but there may be some that are more humanitarian.
Like what? What do you mean?
So I asked them to explain that, and they said there will be major turning points for humanity going forward to prepare them for the new world ahead, the world of love.
What are the major turning points?
They won't tell me. It's denied.
And is it natural disaster or flooding?
They said again that was denied.
And any man-made?
Yeah, they said there's a possibility of something that's man-made.
And how and why can a man-made disaster occur if the white hats are in control?
So they're saying it's precisely because of the white hat control that a controlled event can occur to help humanity to awaken.
So am I to believe that the white hats are instigating certain protocols to help humanity awaken, making it appear to be a random event or the work of the deep state?
Exactly.
And surely there's an easier way than this of manipulating human conscious behavior.
So they said that the white hats are using reversed psychology to try and undo all the programming that people have psychologically had to endure for thousands of years. And it may seem like a counterintuitive approach, but it is likely to be better accepted and understood when it is undone in a similar method to how it was installed or programmed initially.
I swear that's what it takes, right? Just to wake people up, you're going to have to shake them awake because they're not buying into it yet. All the people of the past year's events.
Yeah.
Which is kind of shocking, but
yeah,
it makes sense why that needs to happen.
Yeah, it does.
And who decided on these reverse psychology tactics?
So they told me that behavioral psychologists and military analysts within the White Hat movement and alliance are doing this.
Is this reverse psychology currently in place?
So they said no, it's not currently in play right now.
When will it begin and end?
Again, that was denied.
You'd think it would have already began with the craziness going on, right?
This was a bit confusing for me just here, but I think as we go on with the conversation, it might unravel a bit more.
Okay, has this tactic been used to date?
So they said it has not been implemented up until this point because it is still being decided and monitored.
And why is that?
The White Hats and military are assessing the way human behavior is best served with any measures that they implement either now or in the future. So it sounds like they're kind of weighing it up and down, what they're going to do.
What are these reverse psychology tactics likely to look like?
They won't tell me. Denied.
Denied. Is a fake UFO invasion planned?
They said no.
Okay. Well, see, I thought there was. They keep saying about a false flag so they said no.
Yeah, they said no.
Is a real disclosure from the Galactics UFOs ETs planned?
They said not at this time, as the human consciousness is just not ready.
But just you saw on Fox, like they're showing the UFOs. You saw that last week, right?
I don't watch Fox, but I'm hearing that they're trying to do something that's fake.
Right. Okay. Do you have anything else to say at this time?
I think that what they're talking about is that the white hats don't have a fake UFO invasion planned. What the MSM might want to do is a completely different story. So at the moment, we're just talking. This is just a conversation at the moment about the white hats. Okay. So they don't have a fake UFO invasion planned, but the MSM might try to tell you that there is one. Does that make sense?
Of course. Yes. Yeah, I misunderstood. I thought
That's okay. Yes,
you were saying white hats only. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, do you have anything else to say at this time regarding the election and how the USA will look or behave politically going forward?
So they were saying that there will be tremendous and exponential change, both in the USA and worldwide going forward for many years, because this is the awakening.
Would an interference through reverse psychology or manipulation of consciousness from the white hats create karma?
So they said yes or no. So I said, can you explain?
Yeah.
And they said that the momentum in and of itself must be driven by the free will of the people to be able, so that the people are able to feel that they are in control of their fundamental rights and their human rights, so that karma is not created. The white hats and the alliance are just creating the learning points for this process for humanity. So it has the people have to drive it themselves. The white hats can instigate things to push people forward necessarily, but what they can do is they can kind of put learning points in there on the way, but we have to really drive it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, if they take control of it and they try to force people awake,
no one's awakening then.
But that would create karma. So they can't do that.
Okay. Yeah, people need to come to it on their own.
So this is why things aren't going the way that we expected. This is why, we're not taking down the MSM and we're not doing things in a particular way, because it's for the people to drive the process. And the white hats are just putting learning points at certain points along that journey to help people to drive it themselves.
So for the next year, it's more of the same, just more. So really not many big changes between now and when in 2022 was the election? Did it say a month?
No, so it was saying that we won't get to that point till about 2000. It could happen before then, but they say if we go back in the conversation, they were saying we had to get that Arizona thing straightened out first and go back and do a revote. And I would imagine that we would, by the time they get the Arizona thing sorted out, we're going to be looking towards the end of this year, maybe. And then they've obviously got to get the revote sorted out, into place and organized. So it's, we're already into May, so I can't see it happening that quickly.
Right. Okay. So restricting movement, implementing vaccine programs, etc. This is not allowing people to feel in control.
So they said, and I agree, I was getting confused. They said for many people who are asleep, it is currently providing them with a way to feel in control, because some people, they need that kind of, layered thing being told to them. They need to be controlled in a certain way. They said that they are currently learning to question the narrative because sometimes lessons and restrictions have to increase for humanity to have a revolution and an uprising and an awakening. So for some people, they need that level of control, and then for it to get more and more controlled, because they're quite happy being told what to do. But it's only when it goes beyond a certain level of control that they start saying, I'm not doing it anymore. But a lot of people like being told what to do. They like being told to go and have a vaccine,
No, I know. They love it. It just feels easier for them. And it's like, I don't have to worry about anything. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And then I can carry on with my life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Okay. So are we saying that the White Hats and Alliance are trying to manipulate an awakening in mass through providing control and restriction?
So not exactly. The White Hats and the Alliance are trying to change, not manipulate, the collective behavior, which has been suppressed by programming for thousands of years. And they are doing this by imposing more stringent measures so that people will awaken, and a worldwide revolution will entail without violence. So they're not trying to manipulate anybody. They're trying to put in those learning points or those signposts by increasing the restrictive measures, but so that the people will take control through their free will.
Okay, and where does God fit in this?
So they said that God is creating the energetic grids alongside the galactics to help the awakening through an energetic and frequency change. So what that means is they've been putting in a grid above us, and Mother Earth is raising her resonance at the same time. So we've got energy coming from above and below us. So that's helping. And they said that the White Hats and the Alliance are also trying to instigate this behavioral change. So we've got this energy coming from above, energy coming from below, and then in between we've got the White Hats trying to put in these learning points. So we've got things coming from all different directions.
Right. So 2 different angles of attack, so to speak.
Yeah. So we've got like 2 angles of attack coming from like God and the White Hats.
So what is the purpose of this censorship? Why is this being allowed?
Yeah, it's confusing, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm over it.
Yeah, they're saying that censorship is part of the reverse psychology approach because it helps people to think for themselves and to become active in driving change by fighting the suppression. And even though it seems like counterintuitive, it does give people the momentum to create change and to create a revolution so that they awaken en masse. And then they take back control from these like heavy-handed tactics.
So these heavy-handed tactics are the White Hats tactics, right?
Exactly.
All right. Yeah. So that is all the questions that we had. And Michelle channels it. It takes a long time to channel this. She was awakened in the middle of the night to channel all these. So it's not happening on the spot. So that's why the questions are.
Yeah. So Kelli, they knew I was coming on to speak to you today, and they woke me up at 1 a.m. UK time last night to give me this little dialogue, because obviously censorship and these constrictive measures at the moment are on a lot of people's minds, and we can't really understand, is it a white hat thing, a black hat thing? But, they keep telling me that the White Hats are in control. And if you watch my latest video called Tipping Point, they did say quite clearly that the White Hats are in control. But it's just that these measures look kind of disturbing, but they're saying it's the only way they can get the people that, are asleep to do that free will action, to say, we don't want to do it anymore.
What about waking them up through showing them the children, saving the children, and all the pedophilia that's been going on?
So the thing is, we're trying to raise the consciousness of Earth. We're trying to get to a fifth dimensional consciousness. And for the masses, if they saw that kind of information at this stage. It could stop the process. It could slow down the process. We're trying to get to 60% collective light, which means that if you and I have got 100% light and our neighbour's got 5% light, when we put all the light together, if we've got 60% light shining on the planet, then we can move forward. We're awakened. So what we don't want to do at this delicate process, because they've told me we're about 55% in, what we don't want to do at this delicate process is bombard people with negative energy, which could bring that collective consciousness back down.
Right.
It's a delicate balance. It could actually do the opposite at this point.
Okay, so we have the results of the Arizona. That should be next week? That should be happening next week, hearing about that. And then from there, then what?
So as they were saying, they seem to think that Arizona will go to the next, something might happen where it's not exactly clear again, and we might need the military to take that forward. So I don't see it as being, again, an automatic process of the judicial system saying something and then it's all systems go. I feel like there's a bit of a longer timeline ahead of us with that.
Okay. And I'm looking at some of your comments now. If you guys have any questions, please write it in. Nicole is asking, do you think Ivanka could be president?
Yeah, I think that's a good possibility that she might at least run for it.
Yeah, and Kim Clement prophesies about a woman with large eyes healing the world.
Okay, so I haven't listened to anything that Kim Clement does. That's that prophecy man. He's actually died, I think, now.
Yeah.
But I have myself been told a few times that there's the possibility of a blonde woman stepping forward in the new setup. Don't forget, we're not saying that President Trump has gone away out of the picture completely. But if you follow my work from earlier in the year, they described it like a business where Donald Trump would be more on the strategic team, kind of in the background, and that the person at the front sounded like it's going to be someone like a blonde woman.
Okay.
So, it could be a team of people, obviously, but I don't see it at this present time that we're going to have a president. Don't see it being called that in the future, because we're going to have a completely different setup.
Okay. And any thoughts on JFK Jr.?
That's a possibility. But whether that's actually him as a physical being or whether they're channeling his energy, that could be another possibility.
Right. Okay. And someone said Janine was seeing disaster this month. You did mention possibly man-made disaster.
Well, I've heard a few psychics saying there's something coming. They've been talking about floods, particularly. Right. I think they mentioned a tidal wave. And when I asked about that, firstly, they don't normally tell me negative things like that, to be honest. But the way that they explained it to me was that it could be a tidal wave of awakening. So it could be metaphoric.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did not see the Simpsons show. Denise said that Ivanka becomes president on the Simpsons.
Really? Well, that's interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. So when I recently was doing the tipping point video, I asked about her husband because there had been someone asking me whether he was a spy or part of the deep state. And they actually said he wasn't part of the deep state because she wouldn't be able to run if she had some sort of links through her husband to deep state. So I was getting that he wasn't linked.
Okay. Okay. Someone asked about the arrange these Q&A. Yes, we did. We did it beforehand. Yeah. Will animal cruelty stop? I just saw that. Now it went away.
Yeah, so whenever they've been talking about the future world, which they call the age of love, they're talking about a world where animals will be revered and, animals will be not eaten or kept in, enclosures, and that there will be healing beds for animals, and everything will be much different in how we treat them. They'll be understood in a different way.
That's lovely. Sorry, this thing was moving and I lost my place. Catherine asked that question. I don't know where she went, but I'm sorry. I can't find you now. What will happen? Well, I think people will. It's just going to take time. Just Brenda's asking if they don't wake up. I mean, I guess maybe she's asking, like, what about the ones that don't wake up?
So I don't see that that's necessarily a problem. It's just about, as long as we get that 60% of light across the planet, we need that 60% for everything to move forward. And if some people within that are only 5% light and not particularly, awake, as long as we've got the collective 60 awake, then that could bring the whole thing, that can move the whole thing forward. So we don't need every single person to wake up. What we need is the collective light to get to 60%.
And then what happens? Once we get to 60%, then what happens?
So once we get to 60%, then we move into what's called the fifth dimension. And then we start moving towards the age of love. And then a lot of these things that have been taking a long time to process, like the elections and things like that, and the new world with the new financial system, they will start moving forward more quickly and be implemented more quickly. Because this new world that we're going into, if we handed it over too fast before people are awake enough, like as a collective, then they'll just go back to their old ways. So there's no point in bringing in a new financial system and a new way of living if people aren't ready to handle it. Because it's like giving your teenage son who's just passed his test, a Ferrari. You wouldn't do that. You give them something that's beaten up to start with so they can get used to it. So it's a bit like we're going into a new world and we need everyone to have a collective light that's high enough so that we can keep it moving forward.
Yeah, you build the momentum and there's no turning back now.
No turning back. Exactly.
Okay. Ian Kelly wants to know, what do you think about the jab passports? Is that going to happen, or is that just?
So we know that everyone's talking about that and they're trying to introduce that, and that is it. What I've been told, that's just a dark storyline, again trying to get people to say no. And once that people do stand up and say they're not doing it, then that will just all go away. It's actually against divine law. You can't impose mandatory jab paperwork on people. It's actually against divine law. So again, that would be creating karmic debt. So it can't be sustained. So it's being played out as a story.
Yeah, like how far are we going to take it? Like they were saying that they're going to keep pushing and tighter restrictions to wake people up. It's like, oh my God, how much more? Because we're finally here in California. We're opening up more and more, and it feels like it's normal now. Not normal. There's a freaking mask everywhere, but
yeah,
it's so much better than it was a year ago.
So I think that even though we don't necessarily see progress, when I look at it as a visual in terms of collective awakening, as I said, we're at 55%. So we're not very far from that 60%. And once you get momentum, it's like that snowball going down the hill. It starts off slow, but then once you get that momentum, then we're away. So, we're nearly there. We just have to keep plodding on. It is frustrating. And the last 5%, it might take another 6 months. It might take 6 weeks. It might take 6 hours. We don't know, because we don't know if our neighbor is going to go from 5% to 10% tonight. We don't know what other people are going to do. We have to wait and see how that unfolds.
What can we do to help this along? Is there anything people can do other than, visualize and stay in 5D themselves? What else
Well, I think what people can do is they can always speak their truth. Always remember to speak your truth whenever you can, but also at the same time protecting your energetic field. And if you feel that speaking your truth is going to be wearing on you, then what you do is you try just little bits where you feel able to, and then the rest of the time you focus on going inwards and building up your own resilience, because you are a beacon. And so what you are doing internally is going out like a beacon. It's resonating out, and it is helping the collective. So you kind of come at it from two angles. You build up your own resilience and light, and where you feel able to speak your truth, you do that as much as you feel able to, but without sustaining too much attack. It's most important right now that rather than trying to be right or to wake people up, that you sustain this beacon. Keep yourself strong. This is the most important thing right now.
And you do that by following your heart, coming from a heart space, right? And
staying calm, staying in the moment, doing things that you enjoy, focusing on the things that you can do rather than the things that you can't, being with your animals.
Yeah, Sammy's, you can rent Sammy out anytime you want.
Yeah, enjoying your animals and all these things that keep you in your own center and in your own place of peace. That's the most important thing right now.
Yeah, and that's such a nice place to be anyway. We should be doing that anyway all the time.
Yeah.
I was thinking about whenever you said the natural disaster or man-made, I forget what you said, anything about the dam in China.
So that's not something they normally would tell me, because I don't channel those types of messages. So I don't actually know about that. It's not something I would feel into. But in terms of the tidal wave that people keep talking about and the flooding, when I asked them about that, they said that was a tidal wave of awakening.
Okay.
Now, whether that will be driven by a flood could well be that as well. But they explain the tidal wave as awakening. But what will create that tidal wave of awakening, that could be, who knows what that might be.
Right. We don't know yet.
We don't know. I mean, it could be natural. It could just be people naturally waking up tomorrow morning and saying, wow, this storyline doesn't make sense. I'm not doing it anymore.
Right. Yeah. Finally waking up to the corruption and manipulation that's been going on this whole time.
Yeah.
So Brenda's asking, does that mean the people will never know the truth? Because it doesn't matter when you tell them, it will still have a negative impact on them.
So truth is subjective. What's true for you and what's true for me is based on how we look at our life. So, an example is that one of my people on my Facebook feed put a picture of a cartoon on their feed, which was something that was quite inappropriate now that we know what's going on with the children and Disney and things like that.
Right.
So I tried to point that out to them, and I got a lot of hostility. And I was told, if you don't like what I put on my feed when it's just a joke, then you can unfriend yourself. So for them, that's their level of truth in that moment. They were just trying to tell a joke because that's all they understand at this point. So again, it's about what's true for her and what's true for me. She's not wrong and I'm not right. It's just that where we are in levels of understanding right now.
Okay.
So, it's like you can't know something until you know it. You don't know it till you know it.
Right. It's not like you're trying to avoid it. It's just not, you're just not ready yet. It's just not there.
You're either just not ready yet, or you just haven't come across that information in a way that you can understand it yet.
Yep. Anything specific to UK that's going on?
So I think the UK is just really waiting on the USA. I think a lot of countries are waiting on the USA. Once we start getting some momentum with what they're doing, then I think we'll start seeing it in other countries. The UK is still fairly when I look at the timeline, it is starting to go quicker than it was, because we recently had that big march in London, which has created, again, that momentum, get that momentum going.
Yeah, that was awesome.
But then you see, for people that aren't awake yet, they're saying, oh, those people now, they're going to get us all locked down again in the summer because, it's all going to spread again. Right. So just as you get some momentum going, you also get a backlash. So, it's a delicate balance. So we are going forward slightly quicker than we were. But again, unless something dramatic happens in the USA really fast, then I see us being slightly behind the USA in terms of moving out of this storyline.
Okay. Any truth about the jabs creating a separation from the person and their soul source?
Okay, so I've talked about the jabs in detail in other videos. And I've always been told that there's a big twist to come with that storyline. So there are different reasons for that. But I have had different people telling me that both through channeling and through intel, that the military have been watching all of the jabs, and they might not be what we've been told that they are in terms of harming people. So that's not to say that some of them have. So it's a complicated story, because we're obviously covering the whole world here, and we don't know what each country is doing and how well established the military are and things like that. But if we go all the way back to the beginning, I was always told that the military had control of the good and the bad jabs, and they were making sure that the good jabs were only administered. Now, so people have been reporting reactions and things like that. But you see, if you are giving a jab to anybody normally, whether it's even a seasonal one that we would normally give before all this flu, this whole storyline that we've got going on, people would have had reactions anyway. So if you think back all the way back to a year and a half ago, people are allergic to things in jabs anyway. So if you're now increasing the numbers that you're doing, you're going to see an exponential rise in reactions.
Because more people are taking it than they would have before. So now and it's being reported. So it's okay. So it's not that.
I also want I'm sure people know this. We're in an information war right now. So different factions have got reasons to be putting out different types of storylines and different figures and statistics. So you have to feel inside of you what you feel is right, because there are different reasons for different storylines being told. Because again, if we're trying to wake people up, then we're not going to be telling everyone. Then there's reasons why certain storylines have to go the way that they do, even with the jab. So, for instance, another thing I've been hearing is that women have been menstruating or having problems with their, periods around people that have been vaccinated. Now, I know women that have been nowhere near anyone that's vaccinated, and they're still having those problems. And what it's to do with, when I've channeled that, is it's the rise of the divine feminine. So because the womb carries your center of creativity. So it would make sense that if you've had a suppressed divine feminine, which is now rising up, that your center of creativity is going to flush itself out and rebalance itself, ready to take on new levels of creativity, because the divine feminine of Gaia is rising up. So that's what I had channeled when I asked around that whole.
Oh, I like that. I've not heard that. That makes perfect sense too.
Yeah. I'm also not convinced. I haven't actually channeled this, but sitting here right now, I'm feeling like you cannot disconnect a soul from the What was that question? Can we go back one, or is it too late? What was the wording on that question?
A person and their soul.
Can you create a separation? I don't see how you can actually. My feeling is that no, you couldn't do that, because if you separate the soul, you might sever the silver cord and they would actually just die. You know, you are connected to your soul. That's what's keeping you alive. So if you separate
There's all kinds of rumors out there, though, saying like, oh, is this the jab's going to do all these horrible things? I mean, there's a gazillion fairy tales out there about this.
I can only give you answers from my own perspective. My own perspective, my own feeling is that that is not the case. I mean, the thing is that if someone has been told that that could happen to them, then they could, in their mind, believe that that's happened to them. And then an energetic healer, who believes that that could happen to someone, could feel that that's what's happened. But that isn't necessarily the case, because different levels of awareness and consciousness will look at a similar problem in a different way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So a lot of people are saying the people that got the jab, can they be saved? And people that are around people that got the jab, can they get sick? And it sounds like that's not the case. So
if what I'm understanding is that the only thing that could be, from my understanding, the worst things that could be in the jabs are that they are flu jabs. Now, I personally wouldn't even have that.
No.
So if some of the bad ones have got through, then obviously I don't think there would be anything we could do at this point to reverse it until the military come in with their new technology that they've talked to me about. Again, that was on another video that I did. I was being told that the military are holding on to something that can reverse damage from the bad jab if it was to get out, or if we were to have another second bioweapon attack. So the military do have something up their sleeve. Whether that would be able to totally reverse anything, I don't know that information, but my feeling is that the whole story around the jab is not what you believe it to be. But I think there's going to be a big twist at the end.
Oh, good. Well, it sounds like it's a good twist. But it's not like any jabs have been that amazing. I mean, there's because autism, there's all kinds of horrible jabs out there. So it's not saying that they're, but this particular one, you're saying maybe not as harmful as people are thinking.
So we know that there's a lot of different ones out there. Okay. My understanding is that the military have been monitoring all the good ones, if there's such a thing, the benign ones, the Trump ones, the ones with the good stuff. So my understanding is the military have the ones with the good stuff, and they've been intercepting and stopping the ones that have got the bad stuff. And I've had some intel from military people saying that that's the case, that the military are looking after the good ones. So I don't believe, to the best of my knowledge, in the sense that I can only go by what's been channeled to me and the few bits of information I've had from military people, I don't believe that the bad jab is even out there. And if it is, I don't think it's out there in vast numbers.
And that's worldwide, you're talking?
I mean, it's hard to know, isn't it? Because we're talking about, I mean, worldwide, there's a lot of people, 7 billion people on the planet. So, even if 1% of a bad jab was to, get around the system, the military system, that's still a lot that would have got around the system. So it's very difficult at the moment to trust the statistics on either side, because there are reasons why you're being told stories on both sides. So you have to go with your intuition.
Okay. Mark wants to know, will flat Earth be proven to the public? Why does everyone want to talk about flat Earth? I don't get it.
Okay,
Am I missing something?
Yeah, I don't actually have any experience around flat Earth. I've never channeled it, and it's not something that's come into my field of experience or channeling, so I can't answer that.
Okay, about the new mutations that may happen, do you see that happening throughout the rest of 2021 more and more? Like, as far as to create tighter restrictions, they're going to come out with more mutations?
I think it's all going to, I think if we go back to what we were talking about earlier in our conversation that we had, which they channeled to me last night, it seems like everything's going to continue until we get that election re-established.
Okay, so the Rona will continue and the lockdowns and all that craziness.
Well, I think we've got two things going on. We're waiting for that election process to get sorted, and we're waiting for people to have free will as a collective and to stand up and say, no, we're not doing it. So we've got two angles going on.
Yeah, so they could possibly open everything up, get used to your freedom again, and then take it away again. And then that would...
Yeah, that's a possibility. I mean, I think they're going to do that in the UK in the summer. I think they're going to give you... We're just about starting to open up again now, you know, where you can have your 6 people and you can sit outside and that sort of thing. And I think they'll probably do that, you know, for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, maybe 2 months. And then I think they're going to, all of a sudden, you know, there's going to be some other version and it's going to be another reason for them to lock us down again.
Okay, what do you see happening with travel this year?
I see it staying pretty much the same as whatever we've got going right now.
People are just going to stay.
Yeah, I don't see that dramatically changing until the people change.
Okay. David Rodriguez said he had intel from a guy who knows a general who told him Joe Biden and Harris gone by June, and Pelosi is Piglosi. I've never heard that. Piglosi is president.
Well, you know, based on what we just read out, that is a possibility, because they did say there would be a dual. They said there's a dual. There is going to be a dual thing going on until the military sort out this Arizona recount. But they didn't deny that in the channeling. They said that is a possibility, and that could be the thing that tips everybody over the edge. That actually could be a good thing. You know, that could be the thing that creates the revolution.
Oh Lord, I don't want to be a part of that. Whatever, I'll carry on with my life, right? Oh God, so funny. Okay. Oh, it's already 12. Our hour is up.
Gosh, that went fast, didn't it?
I know. I think what is this? Maybe we can collectively laugh our way over the 60% mark. Humor is the way. I swear you're right, Tim.
So
Laughing.
Tim, I actually did a soul reading for a lady that teaches laughter lessons. She has groups and you just go in and you laugh. She calls it laughter yoga. And it is a really good way of bringing up the vibrations. So definitely whenever you can have a good laugh, that's a really good way to move things forward. Absolutely right.
So true. Living in oneness and your happiness, living from your heart.
Yeah, Kelly, the next time we do this, we just need to have 60 jokes that we can tell to keep everyone laughing.
Oh, here's a great comment, Michelle. I see your hair. You do have so much more. You have more hair and longer.
It's a miracle. It's a miracle, Mary, isn't it? Honestly, it's a miracle.
And one thing I want to say about staying in 5D and not, when you get stuck on listening to the 3D news and fear around the jab and fear on both the alternative media and the MSM, it's like it just keeps you in 3D. You don't ascend. You don't ever go to 5D if you keep worrying about things in 3D.
Yeah. You have to just try to see it for what it is. You know, it's just trying to get people that aren't aware yet to a point where they're making their own decision to not do these things anymore. And it's frustrating for us who can see, you know, what's going on. But for us, it's just a test in patience and empathy and compassion.
Yeah.
And boy, are we being tested.
Oh, I had one more question. We are definitely being tested. What about the synthetic meats? That is so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, actually, a lot of the food is synthetic already, really. So what's really very new about that? For people that aren't awake, you know, they do go to those fast food places where the stuff is more or less pretty much synthetic already. So I think, again, that's just about levels of awareness, whether that's going to take off or not, isn't it?
Oh, he's saying in the grocery stores, though, that you'll only get synthetic meats. Not just we know fast food's crap, but.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. Well, you know, that's up to, I mean, I don't eat meat. So I suppose it'll be up to people, again, to make their choices based on their level of, you know, awakening.
Yeah. All right. Just got to play it, see how it plays out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for joining. Thank you so much. And thank you, Michelle. And remember to tell everyone about Michelle, where to find her. And I'll have to put your link, the YouTube link, the video you made telling everyone where to go. I'll have to get it from you and put it in the description.
Yeah. So the latest video was called Tipping Point, and it just talks about the levels of consciousness right now and how that's going to move us forward.
And where to find you, I mean, because you're a Patreon channel.
Oh, yes. Yes, of course. So all my links are under my YouTube videos at the moment, unless YouTube has disappeared while we've been talking.
No, don't say that. It just makes sense that Patreon. I mean, Patreon's done that to so many people, though. They've cut off so many channels.
I think the thing that really astounded me with that was that they were actually saying I hadn't done anything wrong on their platform, but they had actually been trolling me on other platforms, and that's what had made their decision, and without any strikes or warning. So basically, you're not being allowed to say anything anywhere because you're being followed across all the platforms.
That's so ridiculous. All right, Sammy, you got to say goodbye. You got to wake up and say hi to your people. He's sleepy. He just woke up.
Oh, he's
wake up and say hi to Michelle, you sleepy boy.
So beautiful. Yeah.
He's so funny. Okay, thank you, everyone. I'm sorry, Sammy, for waking you up. Thank you, Michelle, and I will be chatting with you shortly. And thank you guys for joining. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.